Leg.
You were a simple Broadway actor, afraid to get in my limo because you thought I wanted you to perform oral sex on me.
Really, what all the puppeteers were expecting when we brought the team together was like, okay, so we were going to have a locked script on this day, and then we will have all this time. The puppeteers are going to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and then we will get there and we will do it. And we were just like, we don't work that way. You know, it's basically like we're going to make stuff up all the time, and the movie's going to completely change as we go. And everyone was telling us, you can't do that in this world. We've learned it's true. I mean, it makes it super hard.
You know, there's certain things that marionettes can't do. Matt and Trey don't know that, so they ask us to do some of those things, and sometimes without the benefit of extensive rehearsals, you know, the guys have to work it out, so we have to think on our feet and try to give them the closest approximation of what they've asked for, often with very comic results.
After the breath, he's gonna spit at the guy. So that's gonna be a real, you know, a real jerk of the head forward.
Here we go.
We've had great success, I think, in pulling off all the things that Matt and Trey sort of impulsively come up with on the spot. We've had, our biggest difficulty has been coming up with the instant requests that they have. We have our call sheet, which indicates one thing, which is what we plan on when we come in for the day, and invariably that's pretty much tossed out the second we get to the first shot.
The improv on the spot is when it happens for some reason. It's when the funny stuff comes. And we've tried to force the funny stuff to come before that when you're just sitting there with a script, and it just doesn't happen. I mean, it happens when everything's kind of there and you go, oh, I know what they should do, you know? And so that's gonna be really, really difficult in this movie.
It makes it easy too, because then you don't have to write a very funny script.
Yeah.
Well, we can just write a not funny script and then just figure out how to make it funny later.
Funny later.
One of the things we're doing in this one that I've never seen in any other marionette production is the level of action that we're putting into this. We've got giant explosions and characters running and jumping and driving vehicles and exploding in some cases. So we're taking marionetting to the extreme factor.
We've blown puppets up, and that's always funny, but these guys get riddled with bullets, you know, blown through plate glass windows, rappelled down lines coming out of helicopters. It's a blast.
Fucking die! Drop her! Drop her! Drop her! And cut!
The scope of the production is a real challenge just for physically getting the elements on set in front of the camera. Because since I coordinate the puppeteers and getting them on stage, we had this opening scene in Paris, and we had 18 puppets out there. Now, some of the puppeteers were suspended from a gantry, which was like a 21-foot gangplank that people stood on and puppeteered from, and then other members of the puppeteer staff were in condor buckets suspended above the set. So the logistics of getting the puppeteers up in their positions, then getting the puppets shuttled up to them, find their marks, communicate to them, really was the most difficult thing in the overall production.
Well, the basic marionette, it takes several people to operate it depending on the gag. And basically it takes one person above the puppet operating the strings. Sometimes there's another puppeteer up there assisting him depending on how sophisticated the movements are, manipulating different strings. Sometimes we'll add a puppeteer below on rods supporting the puppet, doing other little more sophisticated gestures if it has to walk in or do a very sophisticated articulate gesture with the arm. So we'll add puppeteers. And then we have another puppeteer doing the facial articulation on the radio control transmission units. To pull off the acting part of this movie, the heads have gotten very sophisticated. We have little radio control servos that control all the facial articulation. We have eye blinks, eye movement left and right, brow movement, jaw movement, smile and frown. So it's really capable of a vast expression. And in the case of the male heads, we have 9 servos controlling those functions. In the female heads, we have 7 servos in their heads, and actually 2 more in the body because their heads are a little smaller. The animatronic portion of this is really fascinating. It's all controlled by a system here at Kyoto Brothers, we call it CAPS, Computer-Aided Puppeteering System. But for this project, it's been supplemented by a system called Gilderfluke, which is a hardware, software-based apparatus that actually allows us to pre-program dialogue with sophisticated lip sync.
Yeah, I'll get it. Action.
Put down your weapons now! Put down your weapons now!
We took our first preliminary dialogue test. We nailed the articulation on the lip sync. It was perfect. And it was enunciating all the words and emoting. And they said, this is too good. It's actually too scary. When you see these little 21-inch figures talking and emoting, it becomes scary. And they don't want these guys to be scary. They want to have fun with the technique. So they've actually made us take the articulation down quite a bit.
Inevitable.
One more time?
Inevitable! Things are inevitably going to change. God damn it, open your fucking ears.
Well, the Kyotos have developed this programming system to enable us to drive these characters' faces live, and we can be spontaneous with our performance depending on what Trey wants. So we're actually the actors that he hates, providing the emotion for the characters.
I remember the first time we met. You were a simple Broadway actor, afraid to get in my limo because you thought I wanted you to perform oral sex on me.
A basic marionette puppet in this production has anywhere from 8 to 10 strings per puppet. Generally 4 on the head, 2 on the shoulders, 2 more on the legs, 2 on the hands. So say when we cut it all down, we have 6 strings per puppet, and we have 10 puppets out there. That's 60 strings of puppets interacting, crossing with one another. So it can be a mess when somebody drops a leg bar or crosses action. The bulk of our jobs are usually trying to hide the technique. It's supposed to become a living, breathing character, technique aside. Here, they've embraced the fact that they're puppets, and if humor comes from the fact they're puppets, it's all the better.
Trey made it clear in the beginning that he wanted to exploit the puppet movement, the marionette movement. So he wasn't afraid to show the strings or show some funky movement because that was where the humor came from in contrast to the action.
The fact that he's using the puppet as a puppet for the laugh has never been done before, and anything goes.
There's no chance we can ever be together?
Only if you could promise me you'll never die.
You know I can't promise that.
If you did that, I would make love to you right now.
I remember we were just messing around with a Barbie and Ken doll one day, kind of going, all right, if we do this, could we have a puppet sex scene? And like, how would it, and we just shot a whole sequence with Barbie and a Ken. And which, if anyone would have walked in on us doing it, they would have thought we were deeply disturbed. But we put it to music, and it just, even that worked pretty well.
Yeah, even that was funny.
And so it was pretty interesting because we got there on the day, and it was sort of like we're trying with all the strings, and we're just like, oh, wow, they can't do anything. And so we're like, you know what, just go a little tighter. And I just sort of got in there and grabbed the legs of this guy and the back of this and kept that out of frame and just kind of moved him around like this and got him and flipped him in different positions, and we just started sort of doing what we were doing with the Barbies, and suddenly
What's amazing to me is when you see the whole thing cut together, it doesn't look that much different than real people having sex.
Yeah.
Clumsy and weird looking.
For us, the puppet sex scene was probably the most innovative thing we've done. Everybody's always talked about puppets having sex, but this time we really did it, and top notch. It's beautiful, beautiful lighting, beautiful set, and the puppets just do amazing things.
I can't help it. This just feels so right, and I don't want anything to mess it up.
Shh. There's not a thing in the world that can mess this up.
Speed.
Background action.
What's great about live puppetry is just that. It's live, it's immediate, it's real objects being photographed with real light, as opposed to some of the computer technology. Something tangible that a director can direct on the moment. We will always have a live puppeteer component there, operating the eyes, the brows, the smiles, the emotion portion of the performance.
Oh, Carson. Carson.
Matt and Trey, they love to keep it fresh. They like new ideas when they think about it. And so to offer them that flexibility, the live component has the ability for them to change lines on the spot, get the actors, the puppeteers, living the moment and playing out a scene.
1, 2, 3. Probably the singular thing that makes a puppet work well is reactivity, either responding to the dialogue, the moment on stage, the script, emotionally projecting through little joysticks into the puppet's face, then it's good. If you feel it and it comes across, the audience will feel it and it'll really sell a scene.
Where most actors use their own physical face and arms and body, puppeteers are actors that have to kind of transfer everything into their fingertips. So we're transferring our performance through our bodies into our hands, into the character's face. It's kind of strange.
You like? Subscribe!